All right, the last thing we need to do to finish this tutorial and to finish this object is just convert the text into usable objects. Okay, because at the moment text as it is, when we bring that into our laser software, it won't recognize this because it can't see these as vectors. Even though it's vector text, it needs the vector lines to be able to work with. So the next step would be to take these increments or these numbers here and convert them into the vector outlines. The way we do that is under Express Tools, we're going to use this little button here. It's called Explode Text. You'll see if you click the Modify pull down, that's Explode there. So that's the one we're using. So I'm going to select Explode Text and I'm just going to zoom out and I'm just going to select everything. Now it will ignore everything in the drawing except for text. Now here's the really important part when you're exploding text. What you need to do is zoom in nice and close, okay, make it as big as possible when you explode it. Now the reason is if I was to zoom out, say here, when I explode it, the vector outlines or the polylines that it's going to draw are going to be very jerky. Okay, if we want a nice smooth outline, we need to zoom right in. So I'm going to zoom right in and press enter. And now, as you can see, we've still got a little bit of sort of jerkiness going around there with those lines, but you got to remember this text is only 2.5 mil high, so when we were actually zoomed out here, it's going to look fine. Now, one of the issues we have in this case is you can see it's broken it up into all of these individual parts. Now, technically, we could get away with that with the engraving, but it's not the neatest sort of form of lines, and I'm not happy leaving it like this. So what we're going to do is there's a little roundabout way we can fix these up quite easily rather than going through and sort of selecting each one of these and trimming and joining and all that sort of stuff. We're going to use some of our 3D tools to do the work for us. Now to do this, what we need to do is go back to the Home tab, click on the draw pull down, and the tool we're after is this little one right here. It's called region. So the quick key is REG. So I'm going to select that and then I'm zooming out and I'm just going to select all the text. Okay, so make sure you only get the text because we don't want to be turning all of our other lines and stuff into regions. Okay, so I'm just going through that. Okay, make sure I get all of that. So notice I'm using blue windows over all of these just to make sure I only get the text and I get the lot of the text. So once I've done that, press enter and you'll see now they've all converted into regions. Now one thing you need to look at, I'm just going to expand this command line just by pressing F2. So F2 and here's our window. One thing you've got to look at here, we've got 164 loops extracted, 4 loops rejected. Okay, so that's an issue there. And it tells us that it's rejected them because they are self-intersections. Okay, so what that means is it's got a line that goes along and then it comes back on top of itself. Alright, so we ended up with 160 regions created. So we need to go and fix those. The way we do that, first thing is we've got to find them. So if you have a close look, you'll see these lines here didn't change. Okay, if I select it, you'll see we've got a line traveling back over itself. Easy way to fix this one is just click on that, pull it back this way. Again, using ortho, we now have gotten rid of that intersection. Okay, so if I do the region tool again and select this object, enter, you'll see it turns into a region fine. And down here, one loop extracted, one region created. So I'm going to go and find the other issues and do the same thing. Okay, and as you'll probably find, it's all on the number 4s. Now this will vary depending on the font that you use. Okay, so not every font will do that. Okay, so I'm just making my way through it, just double checking. Okay, that all looks fine. Okay, again, the number 4, the issue, so just quickly fixing that up. Okay, just taking that to there. REG, select it, enter. Okay, finding the next one. Okay, so that's 3 that I've done, and there's the 4th one. Okay, so it's all the number 4s. REG, select, enter. Okay, so now I've converted all the text into regions. in order to get rid of all of these lines and all that, what we're going to do is a tool called Union. Now you will be able to find it if you want to go under your workspace settings and change your workspace to 3D modeling. Now for this exercise, we're not going to do that. We're just going to use the shortcut key, and that shortcut key is just UNI. So I've typed in UNI, enter, and all I'm going to do again is just select all the text, okay, just like we did before. Okay. Right. Okay, once we have all that selected, you'll see, if I'll zoom in on one of these so you can see what happens. When I press enter, all those lines disappear. So what it's actually done is joined all of these pieces up. By turning them into regions, what we've actually done is turn them into like a 3D sort of flat object, okay, and that has a sort of plane on it. And by using the union tool, it's merged those two planes together. Now what I'll do is I'll give you a quick demo just so you can see what we're talking about in terms of regions, and I'm just going to draw two circles, okay, like that. Now to be able to demonstrate this, I'm just going to click on 2D wireframe up here, and I'm going to change it to shaded with edges. Okay, now you'll see all the objects that we have here that we've already done have now changed color. Okay, these ones haven't. These are just plain circles. If I double click on it, you'll see it tells me it's a circle. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to region these. So if I go region and I click on both of those and press enter, you'll now see that these have changed the same color. Okay, if I double click on it, it tells me it's a region. Okay, so think about these as flat planes. Now by using a tool called Union, UNI, and selecting these two, what it does is it joins those two. Okay, so it becomes one. You've unioned them into one. Okay, there are other tools we can use like subtract, so SUB, and we can subtract from that one, enter, and we want to subtract this one, and that one will get rid of that. And there is another one called intersection. Okay, so we can use INT, and if we select both of those, it will get rid of everything that's not intersecting. Okay, so that just gives you an idea of what regions are and how they work. Okay, alright, so the next step, I'll leave this shaded with edges on just so you can see what's happening. Now, the next step, again, the laser won't read regions. Okay, so what we need to do is go through and explode all of these because we need to get them back into polylines like this. So I'm just going to go and use my normal explode tool, and I'm just going to go through and again select all the objects. There we go. So they're all selected. Press enter. Okay, now I've exploded it once, but notice they're still solid like this. That means they're still regions. Okay, so we've still got regions. So I'm going to need to explode them a second time. Okay, this time I'll have to select them all individually. And pressing enter, now they've all exploded, as you can see, into polylines. So as you can see, we've got all these individual line segments all the way around. Okay, so last thing we need to do now that we have them all into vectors or simple lines is join them. Now I can get away with what I'm about to do now because none of these bits of text are touching any of the circles or lines or anything like that. But normally I wouldn't recommend doing this. So what I'm going to do is use join, so modify, use the join tool, and I'm just going to do a blanket window select like this. Okay. As I was saying, I wouldn't recommend normally doing this, but because none of these are these are all closed polylines, so they won't join to these. Same deal with all of those parts there. So it's only going to join the text. Okay. So enter. And what we're looking at down here, we've got 2,502 objects converted into 110 polylines. Okay. Now you can see there 262 objects were discarded from the operation. So that's all of these little increments, all the circles and bits and pieces that it discarded. Okay. So if I move over them now, you'll see these are now all polylines. Okay, and they're all joined, so they are just like any other line, which means we can now engrave. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just using my match properties, I'm just going to come through and just change all the text into the same color that I'll be using for engrave, just to make it easier for the laser. So selecting all of these, and once we're done, that is it. There you go. That is all now ready for laser engraving. Okay, and cutting. So the only thing that's left to do is export this. Now, the laser that we're using uses the DXF format. So we just need to save this as a DXF file. Now, there are a number of ways we can do that. One of the easiest ways is just by typing DXF out as one word. You can see in the command line, DXF out, pressing enter, and then all we need to do is just under here, make sure you choose a 2007 DXF, this one here, and then save. That's it, done. Now, doing DXF out, what that will do is if you have anything else on your drawing, it will DXF that out with it, okay? So you won't just get this object. Now, in order to be able to get just this object, so let's say we've got a few others floating around on the drawing and we only want this piece here, rather than using DXF out, we're going to use the right block command. Now, where you find that is you can either press W, that's probably the easiest way to get there. Otherwise, you click on the little insert tab up the top, and we're going to come down to where it says create block, click the pull down, and we want right block. Okay, so it's far easier just to press W. Right block, and in here, what we're going to do is we're going to pick a point. So generally, in this case, I'm clicking 0. Now, if you want to leave it at 0, you didn't need to click a pick point because that was already at 0, but you may want to bring it in from somewhere else. Okay, so from there, we're going to select objects. In this case, I'm just going to select everything, enter, and you see it's got 372 objects selected. And then what we're going to do, just down in here, we click this little button, and then you're going to go and find the folder that you want to save it in, and again 2007 DXF. Okay, and that's pretty much it for that. The other way would just be to go to the application button, click save as, and go to other formats, and then just down in here we change that to 2007 DXF. Okay. That's pretty much it. Now, one thing we want to do before we get into the exporting and all that sort of stuff, I should have mentioned this earlier, we just want to do a quick bit of housekeeping on here just to make sure we don't have any lines on top of lines and sort of overlapping bits and pieces and all that sort of stuff, or duplicates. Now, this is a good habit to get into. So I'm going to run through it right now. We're going to click on modify, and just down here we've got this little broom here. Okay, it's called delete duplicate objects, or overkill is the command. So you can just type in overkill in the command line if you like. But we're going to select that, and we're going to draw a window over the objects that we want. Okay, you can select your entire drawing if you like. Press enter. Okay, and we get this little picture here. Okay, so this little box pop up. Generally, you can just leave this as it is if you're overkilling the whole drawing. Okay, but if you want to filter out particular things like colors, layers, and all that sort of stuff, you've got the option to do that here with the checkboxes. Okay, and this is the tolerance. So what we're looking at here is anything smaller than that, it will ignore. Anything bigger than that, it will work with. You can change that plane to 0 if you like. It doesn't really matter. But again, this is just to filter out particular sized objects. So I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. And what you see here, okay, I've got 0 duplicates deleted, and there was 12 overlapping objects or segments deleted. Okay, right. So that was a bit of an issue. We had 12 overlapping objects. We should have had 0 and 0 for all of that. Okay, so it's somewhere along the line. It could have been with the explode options. It could have been with any of the copy options and all that sort of stuff. But somewhere along the lines, we've ended up with 12 overlapping objects. Okay. But good housekeeping there. So once we've done that, now we want to re-block this out. Okay, so I'm just going to DXF this one out. Okay, because you want to make sure you do that before doing the DXF. So I'm just going to save that and overwrite. Yep. Okay, that way we don't end up with those duplicate objects coming into the laser, because we don't want the laser going over the same point multiple times. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that for this tutorial, and yeah, I hope you do well. Thanks.